Welcome to the Edge Builder Safety Training video number 3. In this video, we will be covering the table saw. The equipment used on our shop floor operates with cutting blades up to 14 inches in diameter and can rotate at speeds as high as 6,000 RPM. That means when cutting, the blade edge is traveling at nearly 250 miles per hour. With hundreds of table saw material cuts to be made per work shift, being safe is important. At Edge Builder, employee safety is a priority. Each workstation is set up to safely accommodate a specific job function. This can only be possible when each employee embraces a high level of responsibility, not only their safety, but the safe operation of the workstation and fellow employees. The following are common sense Edge Builder worker policies. No drug or alcohol use. Edge Builder has a zero tolerance policy. Any employee found under drug and/or alcohol influence will be terminated. Any medication prescribed by a doctor which could affect worker safety should be discussed with your supervisor. Any employee feeling ill during work hours should notify their work supervisor. Here are a few more common sense worker policies for Edge Builder. Safety glasses must be worn on the shop floor. Steel-toed shoes or boots are a requirement. Your shoes must also be of the non-slip variety and in good condition. Employees should avoid wearing loose clothing or jewelry that might get caught in the equipment mechanism, causing bodily damage. Ear protection is strongly recommended but not required. Table saws on the factory floor perform many functions, including the main workstation for cutting sheathing and a second station used for ripping component boards. In a typical work shift, it is not uncommon to make hundreds of material cuts using the table saw. Let's walk through the safe use of the table saw from beginning to end of material cutting process. Starting with the sheathing table saw workstation, the process starts with a cut sheet, which is a work order document specifying the right type of material, the length, the width, and how many pieces to be cut. The cut sheet and material to be cut is provided by the floor supervisor, who will position bulk lumber material near the saw for easy loading. The next step is to use the information from the cut sheet to properly set up the table saw to make the cut. Measure out the distance required between the saw fence and the blade using the tape measure built into the saw. Once adjusted, set the fence so it will not move during the cutting process. From the bulk material provided to be cut, the next step is to load the individual sheets or boards on the saw table. Note in the example shown here how the sheet material is safely dragged and dropped onto the saw table. This method is preferable to trying to lift the entire weight of the material yourself and saves back strain, as hundreds of work pieces must be moved through a daily work shift. Next is setting up the workpiece for the cut. After checking to make sure the guards are in place and the material to be cut is free of nails or screws, the blade should be positioned higher than the material to be cut. If the cutting operation is dusty, wear a dust mask. Proper positioning of your body and hands makes cutting on the table saw easier and safer. Feet must be planted squarely on the ground. Never have any part of your body in line with the path of the saw blade. With the dust collector and table saw running, remember to keep your hands no closer than 6 inches from the cutting blade. Hold the material tight against the saw fence and at the same time flat against the saw table. Then carefully, using your right hand to push and your left hand as a guide, push the material through the cut and past the saw blade. Only release the material after the cut has been made and all material is past the saw blade. Never force the cut. Allow the blade to do the cutting. Always be aware of a possible kickback, where the saw blade can catch the material and throw it back at the operator. During the cutting process, it is important to be focused on the job at hand and not carrying a conversation with others. Here are several safety rules to remember. At no time should you reach behind or over the saw blade during or after the cut is made. When ripping boards or cutting smaller material that is 6 inches or less in width, a push stick must be used. With the sheathing or board cut, occasional measurement checks should be made to verify the material lengths and widths. Material needs to be marked per the cut sheet so that the next station can properly identify them for assembly of the wall modules or subcomponents. It is important to keep your workstation clean of debris, as it creates a hazard for operating the machinery and as well as your personal safety. Sweep and pick up any debris on the workstation floor. With the table saw locked out, tagged out, use the vacuum to clean debris from the saw table and blade area. As with any mechanical machine, there is a potential for the table saw to break down. Should you notice any malfunction of any type, inform the floor supervisor there is a problem with the equipment. Your floor supervisor will then lock out and tag out the equipment for repair. This completes the table saw safety training video. At EdgeBuilder, employee safety is a priority. In this presentation, we reviewed the process of safely using the table saw workstations and common sense EdgeBuilder worker policies. If you have any questions on the use of the table saw workstations, please contact the floor supervisor.